Hi, welcome to Folkway Lodge. Today we're going to show you how to stitch leather by hand using the saddle stitch. You don't need many tools to learn how to stitch by hand. I'll show you several methods, one of which is the most inexpensive way possible while retaining excellent quality. After this video, you will be able to make beautiful stitches and be able to make long-lasting repairs and projects with leather. For basic, inexpensive stitching, especially if you're just getting started, you only need a few essential tools. You'll need 2 stitching needles. You're going to need some thread. For this video, I'm using 1mm wax nylon thread. You're going to need your leather, of course. I'm just using a piece of scrap for this video for demonstrative purposes. And you're going to need a stitching awl. It also helps to have a pair of scissors and a ruler. These are the basic items needed to get started. For a major upgrade in quality and time saving, you should also add a stitching spacer and a groover to replace the scissors and the ruler. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to start by making a groove in our leather. You can do this using the groover, and in order to do that, you set the size gap that you want, tighten the groover up, and you're going to press down on your leather in order to create a groove for your stitches to sit in. If you don't have the groover, what you can do is take a pair of scissors, space them out with your finger, and you can press a groove with the scissors. Next, we want our stitch spacing set to make it look very nice. We're going to take our stitch spacer. You're going to press it in their groove. Using firm pressure, you're going to roll it along your groove. That creates nice looking spaced stitches. If you don't have the spacer, remember we can use a ruler. You can take your measurements of the stitch spacing that you want and poke your holes. Next, we're going to take our stitching awl. You want to line up the diamond side, like so, and you want to press into your leather in every single spot your stitch spacer rolled into. And try and get it straight up and down. Next, before we start stitching, we obviously need to thread our needles. So, what we want to do is pull off enough thread for your entire project. Personally, I like to use about 4 times the amount of thread. It's easy to work with and it makes sure you have enough. So, our project being this wide, we want to take 1, 2, 3, 4 times the length. And cut it with our scissors here. Now, in order to thread your needles, you want to use a special process so that it doesn't come undone. You want to take your thread about 1 inch down and pass your needle through the center of it. Just poke it through and it'll pass through the center of the thread like so. Now about 1/4 inch away, maybe 3/8 of an inch, you want to pass it through again, making a loop that looks something like this. Now you want to slide your thread down to the eye of the needle and you want to pass your thread through, just the end here. So pass the end through, pull till it stops. Now pull this piece of thread all the way down and it locks your needle in place. Now you want to repeat the process for the other side. Okay, now that our needles are threaded and ready to go, we can start our stitching. What you're going to want to do to get a great stitch on your leather is start a few holes down from the beginning. You want to pass your stitching needle through and spread it out evenly. You want it evenly spaced on both sides. Next, what you want to do is go backwards towards the beginning of your project in order to get a lock stitch. So what you want to do is pass the needle through, then you take your other needle, you pass it through the same hole, out the other side, like so. And pull tight. Now you've made your first stitch. You want to continue on to the end. And now you are at the beginning of your project. Now we're going to work our way all the way to the end. The reason why I backstitch and then continue on with my project is in projects like knife sheaths and projects on the end of leather that you don't want to separate or they need extra strength, that will give you doubled up thread there. So just keep that in mind. You might not need that for every project, but for this project, we're going to demonstrate it anyways, just to be thorough. So now, remember, we're going to go through our entire project, stitching back and forth with the method that I just showed you. We're going to go through the same hole, back and forth. Here's a close-up of the process. Pass your needle through to the other side. Then you take the other needle, you pass it through the same hole. That gives you a locked stitch. Then you continue on. Okay, now I am on the last hole of my project here. I mentioned before that I like the ends to be really strong, no matter if I'm doing sheaths or just stitching two pieces of leather together. In really any application, I like to have the ends very strong. So you're going to pass through the last hole, other needle through the same hole, and you're going to go backwards over your stitches just a few times. So here we're going to go through again. Now we're going backwards, remember. So it's going to be very tight, sometimes a little difficult to get through. Okay, so now I'm a couple stitches back. What you want to do is you want to finish with both your thread on the same side and on the inside of your project. The side that you don't want showing, you want the outside to have a clean stitch. So the inside is where you want your threads to end. Now we're going to take our scissors, and the way I end a stitch is I cut it just a couple of millimeters high. So you have a couple of tiny pieces sticking up. And we're going to perform a weld. So you want to take a lighter, burn it till it starts to melt, press down. That is going to fuse the thread and make a plug that won't come out on your project, and it's going to be flush. There you have it. A clean stitch using the saddle stitch method. Don't forget to check out folkwaylodge.com, where you can find apparel for patriots and outdoor enthusiasts. We carry a wide variety of clothing for men, women, and kids. And don't leave without checking out some of the other types of products we have on our site. Many of our products are featured in our videos.